Tariffs and trade wars are all we're hearing about. It's what everyone's talking about. The stock market is up and down like a roller coaster, and the headlines from the news media outlets are predicting it. A recession is coming. And right when you were about to start your wholesaling business, right when you're about to take that first step and maybe quit your job and wholesale full time, now you're wondering, should I be hitting the brakes? Can I really wholesale in the middle of all this chaos in the economy? Well, in this video, I'm not only going to break down the facts about wholesaling real estate during a recession, but I'm also going to be talking about why it's actually the best time to get into wholesaling. And I'm going to give you the 3 skills you must master if you want to succeed as a wholesaler during a recession. Welcome to the Wholesaling Freedom channel, where I teach you exactly how I quit my 9-to-5 and built a successful wholesaling business and how you can do it too. If you're new here, my name is Ralph and I quit the rat race to become a full-time real estate entrepreneur, and my goal on this channel is to help you do the same thing. Okay, so let's get into it. First off, what is a recession? A recession is just a period of temporary economic decline. In technical terms, a recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, and a recession can only be declared by the National Bureau of Economic Research. So the first thing you should understand is, at the time of this recording, we are not officially in a recession. So although Fox and CNN and MSNBC may be saying we're headed towards a recession, we are not in a recession until the National Bureau of Economic Research declares it. The other thing to understand is that recessions are a normal part of the economic cycle. Think of the economy like seasons. There's spring, which is a period of growth. Then there's summer, which is the peak of that growth. And then there's fall, which is where things begin to slow down a little bit. That's kind of like where we are now. And then finally, there's winter, which would be the recession. Just like the seasons, recessions are a natural part of the cycle. When there are periods of growth and inflation, or what some refer to as the bubble, we need a period of recession to kind of bring things back to normal. Recessions come and go. They aren't new. They've happened before and they'll happen again. But just like you don't stop going outside during the winter, you don't stop doing business during a recession. You just dress a little differently. All right, so let's look at what happens to real estate during a recession. So there are a few ways that a recession can affect real estate. Number 1, property values might drop in some areas. During a recession, consumer confidence often declines, leading to a decreased spending on major investments like a home. Fewer people are willing or able to buy homes, resulting in slower home sales. And fewer home sales usually means an increase in supply and a decrease in demand. And that kind of pressure forces prices to drop. Number 2, lenders get a little bit more conservative. During a recession, lenders typically get tighter on their lending standards, potentially making it harder for some borrowers to get approved for a mortgage. Now that, mixed with increased unemployment, can make it even more difficult for new or first-time home buyers to qualify, which then leads to less demand and ultimately slower home sales. Number 3, sellers start to get nervous. During a recession, sellers who need to sell their homes may get scared that they may not be able to find a buyer due to the falling home prices and tighter lending standards. Number 4, investors start looking for discounts. During a recession, because lenders may have stricter lending guidelines, it may force some investors to have to put more money down. And also, a fixed-up house may stay on the market for a little bit longer because most buyers can't qualify. So investors have to protect their profit, and the way they can make sure that they protect their profit is to buy at a deep discount. Now, when you add all of these factors together, guess what that creates for you as a wholesaler? It creates opportunity. All of these factors combined together create opportunity for you as a wholesaler. Because when a homeowner needs to sell, but they're afraid they won't be able to find a buyer, and investors want a deal, but they need a great deal at a discount to protect their profits, you become that bridge that brings them together. Let me put it like this. In an up market or during a period of growth, sellers are selling for top dollar and buyers are raking in the deals. But in a recession, there's much less activity, making it harder for sellers and buyers to find each other. But as a wholesaler, you become the one helping to make those connections. All right, so let's talk about why wholesaling still works during a recession and why it might be even easier for you to get your first deal. Most people think you need a hot market to wholesale, but the truth is, it doesn't matter whether you are in an up market or a down market, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, none of that matters. The only thing you need as a wholesaler is motivation. And guess what recessions create? Motivated sellers. During a recession, people unfortunately end up in situations where they become motivated sellers for for several reasons. People fall behind on bills, some people inherit properties they don't want or can't afford to upkeep and manage, tenants lose their job and that negatively impacts some landlords. This is where you can come in with a solution to help sellers salvage the equity that they have and sell their properties quickly. Alright, here are the 3 skills you must master to succeed in a recession. So far, we've already established that 1, you can wholesale during a recession, and 2, a recession may be the best time to get into wholesaling and find your first deal. But if you want to be successful, you gotta master these 3 skills. Number 1, become a problem finder. You can't just call a seller or mail a seller and just make an offer 75% of ARV minus repairs and then think you'll be able to get the deal. To be a successful wholesaler, especially during a recession, you have to be a problem solver. And to be a problem solver, step 1 is you have to find the seller's problem. Maybe the seller owes too much. Maybe they need more time before they move. Maybe they have a situation with a family member or tenant living at the property and not paying rent. Maybe they need some help with moving costs, or maybe they need help actually moving or packing in general. You have to be a detective. You have to know how to ask the right question to uncover motivation. Now, I'm not going to go into scripts and questions to ask sellers in this video. I'll make another video where I deep dive how to uncover seller motivation and what questions I ask. But the biggest thing I'll say here is just be curious. If a seller says they want to sell because they're moving out of state, don't just glance over that and then start asking questions about the property condition, like what condition is the roof in? Be curious. Ask the seller, where are you moving to? That one question alone may open up the conversation for the seller to tell you about their sick parent who lives in Texas and they need to move to be closer to them, to care for them, and they need to sell quickly. But if you're not curious, you'll miss the opportunities to find the seller's problem. Number 2, be a problem solver. Now that you've identified the seller's problem, you need to be a problem solver. The wholesalers that are successful and close deal after deal after deal have mastered the skill of problem solving. When you uncover the seller's problem, you need to be the one to provide the solution. And to be a problem solver, you need to have a toolbox. You need to have connections in your local market to provide the seller with solutions. If the seller wants to sell, but they have a lot of stuff at the property and they're not sure how they're going to be able to pack and move, and they feel overwhelmed just thinking about it, you need to have movers that you can call that will come and pack for the seller and take their items to storage. You need to have connections with local storage facilities in your market that you can set up storage for them and make the process easy and painless. If you're just making an offer and leaving the seller to handle everything else, you're not going to get sellers to accept your offer. But if you take the time to not only understand or uncover the seller's problems, but also help provide solutions, then you'll win that deal every time. In fact, a seller may be willing to go with your offer even though it might be lower than what others have offered them, because to that seller, price doesn't matter as much as peace of mind. If you can position yourself as a one-stop shop for sellers, solving their problems, you'll win in wholesaling even during a recession. Number 3, develop a winner's mindset. Now, this is probably the most important skill in general to have as an entrepreneur, and even though this is about mindset and not really a tactical skill, developing certain mindsets and being able to tap into those mindsets when necessary is a skill, and it must be developed. Earl Nightingale said this in his speech, The Strangest Secret, which was also compiled to a book, and you could probably find some of his videos on YouTube, but he said this: the people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, they make them. Recessions are a normal part of the economic cycle, but they can be scary and they can be uncertain times. However, if you're going to do this business and eventually do it full time, then you must develop an attitude and a mindset that you will win no matter what. No matter if we're in an up market or a down market, don't let the economy or tariffs or the market or what's happening in Washington define your ability to be successful. Successful real estate entrepreneurs know how to succeed in any market. Now, this doesn't mean that the market or the economy has no effect. Of course, if the price of materials goes up, then the cost to fix up a house goes up. But successful real estate entrepreneurs are able to pivot based on the market and the economy. They don't give up when times get challenging. They learn from the data that's out there about the economy and the market, and then they adapt and adjust. If you want to be successful in any market, whether up market or down market, inflation or recession, you have to learn how to stay poised and grounded despite what the news is saying or what's happening in the stock market or what's happening in Washington. You have to have unshakable faith that you will win no matter what. And then you have to do the necessary work to learn and understand what you need to do to be successful, and what it's going to take to be successful. It's already a common understanding that more millionaires are made during a recession than in any other financial market. Having a winning mindset and developing the skill to access and utilize that mindset when needed is the key to success, not just as a wholesaler, but in business in general. All right, so here are my final thoughts. The reality is, it's your move. So can you wholesale during a recession? Absolutely. In fact, you might find it easier to get deals now than when the market was on fire. Motivated sellers are out there, cash buyers are still looking for deals. The only thing missing is you. If you're brand new to wholesaling, but you're serious about learning, I've got a step-by-step guide on how to get your first wholesale deal fast right here for you to watch next. And until next time, stay focused, stay free, and keep pushing.